If the world can claim there are elements in the Bible that are not clear, no one can claim there is not a clear and unmistakable discussion about a war going on. The depiction of the conflict is always in the form of two polar opposite groups. The most frequent depictions are of the saved and the unsaved, or those of the spirit and those of the flesh. The unsaved are religious, because they insist on following the law, usually of their own making. This religious habit was what defined Judaism. The Israelites were given the law to demonstrate the insufficiency of the law. People cannot follow the law, even when the law came from God. Man always falls short because only Christ was able to follow the spirit of the law to the letter. Humans, even were they able to follow the letter of the law, cannot inculcate its spirit. Mankind is not naturally a spiritual being. We were made out of the things of the earth. God breathed spirit into us, but spirit is always at war with the flesh. The body is a thing of the law, and to live in the flesh is to live in the law. To live under the law is to adopt some form of religion. There is some debate about what makes a religion. It cannot be the worship of gods because many religions are more akin to philosophies. Other gods are spirit beings such as ancestors, which are not gods just because they are dead and venerated. Animists see all physical things as containing spiritual beings of forces that have legalistic ways of being appeased. The thing that links all religions is their reliance on rites, which are laws telling what physical things must be done to appease the gods. Rites are a veneration of physical performances. Much of this thinking has transported over to various branches of Christianity. The performance of ritual is viewed as something profound. But Jesus never took part in rituals. He got baptized and initiated the rites of the Last Supper, but sacraments are less about the behavior and more about what the act symbolized. In baptism we are raised symbolically from the dead to reign with Christ. In the Last Supper we honor the death that gave us life. It is a memorial service that celebrates our leaving this physical plane. There is much in religion that is purely physical and rote and celebrates the power of the flesh. Why are incantations accompanied by hand gestures and bodily stances? What difference does it make to the power of a spell if the hands are doing this or that, or held in this way or that way? Why do some people reach to the heavens to pray, while others wring their hands in supplication? What difference does it make to the efficacy of prayer? Must we close our eyes to pray? Does kneeling or prostrating oneself in prayer send a signal to God, or to the religious leaders and your fellow petitioners? Religions are all about law, and law is all about physical conformity of behavior. Religions do not care what you believe. Religion is about controlling what you do. It is less about what you do than about conformity. Conformity confirms that you follow the law, ergo that you are religious. The military is a religion with all of the rights of any religion. The military drill religion into the recruit by creating conformity. The recruit becomes one with his unit. The religiosity of the soldier is confirmed on the parade ground, with his participation in impeccable drills. Every religion is an identity confirmed by rote participation in physical actions or rites. Even atheism is identified by their shared and rite-like mockery of Christianity. The sacramental nature of atheism is visible in their claim they deny the validity or relevance of the God hypothesis but by implication accept deism, animism, and spiritism as well as ancestor worship and, we suppose, cannibalism, which is largely a sacramental, religious activity. Indeed, what really is an atheist, but a religion based on the laws of nature? By implication, if atheists do not believe there is evidence for God, they have a positive faith that phenomenology suffices to explain all things. There are only two options: physical explanations and spiritual ones. Either everything is material, or the universe is metaphysical. They cannot be both. But the material explanation is explicitly insufficient. the materialist or atheist must always live with observations that do not fit into the materialist framework. Technically, one cannot be an atheist and be epistemologically coherent. If atheism is a claim that there is no need for God or no root to the legitimization of God claims, or perhaps that the atheist is not convinced by any arguments for God, he or she is introducing metaphysical arguments to discredit metaphysics. There is no root to the atheist position. Materialism does not provide a framework for epistemological absolutism or metaphysical speculation. Ultimately, atheism is nothing more than an unverifiable metaphysics with no philosophical merit and needs to be rejected as incoherent. At minimum, the atheist needs a metaphysical basis from which to exclude metaphysical positions regarding God, and this is not logically possible. Atheists cannot make positive statements without making metaphysical assumptions or voicing personal opinions. To make the problem with atheism more obvious, one needs only to look at the limitations of physicalism. Induction assumes there is a reality that is physical and has no need for anything that is not contained in the idea of a physical universe. This proposition is metaphysical in its speculation. The concept of a physical universe is an idea, not a thing that can be directly perceived or objectively ascertained. The idea of reality cannot come about without that which is able to form an idea. It is not reality that forces its nature or substance upon us, the observer; it is a sentience conceiving of an idea and giving it a label. So, where did physical reality come from? Mankind cannot form such ideas. The question cannot be answered because it is an oxymoron. Nothing can come from itself. Mankind cannot grasp that which is not logically coherent. We as part of reality cannot create or conceive of a reality from nothing. We have to exist as real things before forming ideas, but reality cannot create itself either. But eternity is not tenable either. Eternity turns matter into God. Everything becomes possible and physical reality becomes all-knowing, all-seeing, all-powerful, for during infinity there is nothing that does not become necessitated. So, the postulate of a physical universe leaves us with an epistemological paradox that can ultimately only be filled with a God postulate. But many atheists are willing to skip this anomaly and declare that the universe exists and is physical. But they do this as inductivists, as believers in a phenomenological truth that is accessible only through the sense. They think they escape the metaphysical paradox, but they cannot. Secularists believe reality is confirmed by experiment to exist. The truth is that empirical tests are never sufficient to achieve absolute certainty. No matter how many times a postulate is confirmed by the experimental method, confirmation is always less than 100%. Doubt is intrinsic to empiricism. For an atheist to claim they know anything is empirically unjustified. The best an atheist can attain to is an opinion, and as it is never confirmed by experiment, the only basis of their position is emotion. Ultimately, atheism is an emotional reaction. This is why all religions rely on law. Law is opinion codified into a regulation backed up by force. Law is created to harness emotion. At some point, however, the law is insufficient to contain emotion. Law serves to enshrine standard deviations. The law states what speeding is, what drunk driving is, what murder is, and so on. Without these definitions, the terms would lack meaning. What does it mean to say murder is the act of killing another human being, if the act is not also made illegal? But do humans have the capacity to adjudicate what is wrong, and to what degree? Do human beings have the moral authority to make laws to follow? If they do, how do we pick the man with the authority to make the laws? Democracy is the usual answer when questions as to who ought to rule are asked. But why is a majority smarter than a minority? No inventions are made by a majority. The majority is generally little more than a mob motivated by crass emotion. Why not let the majority write the law or pick which laws will be implemented? Mobs generally excel at giving expressions to an emotion, and not much else. Mobs are emotional creatures. And so we are compelled to ask, how does the more rational among us confront the religious and the lawmakers? Conservatism is the belief in a natural order. Christianity is the belief that if we look to nature, we can find God. The law of God is the law of the natural order. This is political. God is discovered in the rules of logic and the logical order of our epistemology. There is no conflict between Scripture and the natural order. There is no conflict between Scripture and the way a logical person thinks. Dominion means we have authority over all things because believers represent the natural order made conscious. Dominion is our conscious awareness of truth, logic, and the moral order of nature. Murder is wrong because it offends the natural order instituted by God. Religions claim no man has the right to take the life of another, and yet the religious order establishes laws that warrant the killing of others, for example, within the boundaries of capital punishment and armed conflicts. At the same time, religious orders often prevent the killing of others even when justified by natural law. Politicians and legal systems often forbid us to exercise self-defense in a meaningful way. This is against the moral order. Religion is not natural. It is artificial. It is not part of the created order, therefore, religions exist as an illicit life form and a corruption of the natural order. Governments exist because of religion. Democracy is a religious right. Democracy is a right of submission. Elections transfer your natural power to a fictitious entity called the state. This is not a natural creation. It is an abomination. This is why political parties merge with the wealthy and parasitic poor to push for religious totalitarianism and globalism. Religion as a mission is to do away with the natural order, the created order established by God, and to create a one-world government under Satan.